Welcome to Let's Get Writing. I'm Kathryn Taylor. Well, this is the show about the writing process in all its beautiful forms. Whether you're a writer, a reader, a fan, I'm sure there's going to be something here for you. All kinds of tips and ideas to spur your muse, perhaps help get you published, or even some great ideas for what book to read next. So many interesting things to learn about writing. And I'd love to know from where you're watching if you'd like to share that with us. If you've missed any episodes, they're all available on my YouTube channel at Kathryn Taylor TV. And now on to the important part. My guest today is a Newfoundland publisher who started his company in 2002. He's a former journalist and was even part of the staff for Joey Smallwood's Encyclopedia of Newfoundland. I want you to meet Gavin Will, the founder and owner of Boulder Books. And let me just bring Gavin up into the stream here. Yay. Hi, Gavin. How are you?
I'm excellent, Kathryn. Thank you for having me. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure. You're out there on the East Coast, and I'm in central Newfoundland, but technology is wonderful when it works.
It is indeed.
Gavin, let's just start by talking about what it is that you do. 2002, you started the company. Give us a little bit of history on how all that came about.
Well, I always say it was a bit of a mixture of kind of inspiration and desperation. I had been a journalist, and I was an early victim of the internet back around late 90s, early 2000. But I had studied Newfoundland history, and I was familiar with Prowse's History of Newfoundland because I worked on the Encyclopedia of Newfoundland, and that was basically the Bible for creating early Newfoundland history entries. And I was looking for a new career after journalism had crashed. And I thought, hey, I love that book, History of Newfoundland by Prowse, but it's almost impossible to get a copy. And a friend of my partner Amanda bought an original copy of Prowse's 1895 edition for her boyfriend, and it costs $600. Now I thought to myself, heck, people don't want to pay $600, but
no,
they'd like to read the book. And I asked Dr. Leslie Harris, the late Dr. Harris, to write the introduction for it, which he very graciously did. And then I published the thing, and it was a reprint. And I got an original copy of the book from somewhere, and it worked. So then I thought, hey, this is easy. This is an easy way to make a living.
As compared to journalism.
No, well, it turned out to be that I got lucky the first time round, and so it's and that's really how I got the company started.
Well, I'm sure when you said, "Oh, this is an easy way to make a living," and all of a sudden you were in publishing, I'm going to just guess. Now, I'm just going to say that probably that thought changed over time once you started getting into it.
Yes, and it's never really gotten any easier. Sometimes I guess right, sometimes I guess wrong. Fortunately, I guess right most of the time, and we've been very fortunate. The company has grown quite considerably.
Yes, and I mean, you've certainly guessed right on some of your books, if I may say. I was digging around for books that I have. I couldn't find my Hikes of Newfoundland, but I found this one, which was a definite guess right for you. The Saltwater Mittens and all these are some of their, I said I was going to start knitting, but Gavin, I keep doing this video stuff and don't take out any knitting needles.
Here's a brand new mitten.
Oh, the trigger mitten.
Shirley Scott wrote for me. Sorry, knit for me, because I'm running as an NDP candidate in the election here in Ascension Bay, East Bell Island, and she very graciously knit me a pair of mittens. I've been taking these with me for the last few weeks.
Well, absolutely a great idea. And those two ladies came on the show, Christine LeGros and Shirley Scott. And that was back on the show I did with Rogers TV. Anyway, I had so much fun with them. They sat in the studio. They had their knitting needles. And the whole time I'm talking to them, they're just knitting. They're just like not looking at anything and just talking to me about knitting. They were so much fun.
Well, they're amazing.
Yeah, yeah. They were amazing.
And their books have just exploded.
Yeah, they're international, are they not?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think what they've hit on, and I think probably because of your background, what you felt was the interest in traditional Newfoundland things that we do and have always done and taken for granted. Like my grandmother, I'm sure, would have made those mitts like crazy. And all of a sudden now it's like a rebirth and people want to know those arts and they don't want them to be lost. So when you hit on books like that, I think the potential for the popularity is enormous.
Yeah, you're right. And it's, we didn't realize how popular these books would be. We knew that it was important to publish them because knitting had, traditional patterns were in danger of dying out, and it so happens that that we hit upon an idea whose time had come, but it really follows on, as you say, with the move towards learning about our traditions, and we discovered that with the field guides that we produced, and some of the heritage cookbooks that we published as well. It's a major thing, trend right now with people.
And Gavin, would you say that is one of the focuses for Boulder Books? For example, if somebody was wanting to become an author with Boulder Books, what is it you look for?
Well, look for great ideas and great writing. It sounds very simple, but there are some areas that we tend to focus on. Certainly field guides, the traditional crafts, cookbooks are very important. Newfoundland history as well, and we often publish books that we know aren't going to be selling a great number, but they're also very important. Last year we published a book called A Mixed Marriage, which is a history of the French French settlement in Newfoundland. It was an area that had been very underrepresented, and so it's important. We see ourselves as being as producing books that are needed. And sales numbers for some are greater than others, but they're no less important.
Exactly. And actually, you mentioning that book, The French Shore, one summer I did go up and drive all through that area. I wasn't as familiar with it, but I had lived for a long time in Moncton, New Brunswick, and I would travel throughout that province up around Shippagan and up on their peninsula. And I had studied French and worked a lot with people there. So I am really interested in that book. So I would like to have a chance to sit down with the author. I'm just letting you know.
Mike Wilkshire will be happy to do so. He's a wonderful man.
I'll be happy to parlay with him. So that would be great. So Gavin, what are the challenges of being an independent publisher in Newfoundland?
Well, for me, I can speak for myself. When I started, I had no idea what I was doing, and but I quickly learned that that distribution is probably the greatest challenge. It's been the greatest ongoing challenge. We've had quality books for quite some time. We're always trying to build on that, but it took a while to be able to develop the distribution network that I kind of knew we needed, because Newfoundland and Labrador is a small province. The population is declining, unfortunately, and it's a challenge to sell, half decent numbers of books. And if you want to have a business, you have to be able to find markets. And so we worked for many years trying to solve the problem. And it took a while, but I'm now happy to see that we do have what they call a supply chain in place.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one a significant a challenge, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it is in many industries, in particular being on an island, and of course Labrador is even less populated than Newfoundland. But in doing that, okay, so you found supply chains and so on. How about finding authors? Has that ever been a challenge?
Well, yes, it is, and there are, in the publishing industry, there are kind of different levels of publishers. There's the big multinationals,
Mm-hmm.
which are based in Bertelsmann, which we know as Penguin Random House, and HarperCollins. These are some of the largest publishers on the planet, and that's where many authors want to eventually be published, particularly in those who publish fiction and some popular nonfiction. And the industry in Canada is actually dominated by the big multinationals. And then you have the Canadian independents, which are all a lot smaller, and it's a challenge to compete with the large ones, to compete for authors, and because the big multinationals have marketing budgets that would dwarf anything that even the combined Canadian industry could offer an author. So, but the way we deal with that is that we kind of focus to people know what the strengths of our company are, and so authors who are write in that genre, in those genre, do tend to come to us. And we've developed a reputation for producing very high quality books. Presentation-wise, if you look at some of our field guides, I can confidently say you will not find anything better. Even Bertelsmann can't produce anything better that looks better than what we publish. So we've really relied on quality and
Mm-hmm.
editing. We have a fabulous managing editor, Stephanie Porter, who is great, and we have a copy editor as well. And so we really make sure that we edit, content edit, and copy edit our books, so that when prospective authors read our books, they go, "Hey, that book reads pretty well. Perhaps I'll go talk to Boulder about my next project."
Mm-hmm.
We've had some success with that.
Well, exactly, and I've often said and shared with viewers that a great investment for a writer is to have a great editor. And we can't do it all as writers, and editors are tremendously important. The work that they do can really bring a book together. And I can't say enough about it. I agree with you.
Yeah. We would not publish an author who refused to allow their book to be edited. It's a critical part of the process.
Absolutely. Now, when you would have been through the transition into ebooks, how was that just a smooth transition for you to develop ebooks as well, or how did that go?
Well, but the funny thing is that, okay, so I was a journalist, and the internet killed the industry for me. So I went into book publishing. Almost as soon as I started doing that, I'm part of industry organizations and in publishing organizations in Atlantic Canada and also the nationally as well. And I would go to sessions at meetings, and for several years they'd be dominated by these meetings would be dominated by presentations from people who predicted the imminent demise of book publishers. So I thought, great. I was a journalist, and the internet's kicked me out. Now it's going to chase me out of publishing as well. Fortunately, that was not the case. And ebooks have become more popular, particularly in some genre. There are some genre, of course, that ebooks do very well. If you're talking romance, science fiction, and a few other genres as well. However, what we found is that for local books, practically nobody wants to read local books as an ebook. It's just as well, because the prices that are the going retail prices would indeed chase publishers out of business if ebooks had become dominant, but they haven't. And the prognostications about the imminent demise of our industry were completely and utterly wrong.
Which is a great thing, and it's so interesting what your point. When you think about it, books that, say, if I read on my Kindle or whatever, are books that, like, they're not books I'm going to keep and hold on to forever. I'm going to enjoy the experience of reading them. But if I buy a book, like, for example, this one here, you want the book. You definitely would not want the ebook. And say the hiking book, when I interviewed Katie Broadhurst, Hikes of Newfoundland, and you want that book because it becomes a reference book. And so it's so interesting, the type of niche that you're into. I could see where the actual physical book would be of much more value to most people than the ebook.
Yeah, and there is a place for digital to be sure, and we do publish ebooks. In fact, the Saltwater Mittens is available as an ebook, and we've sold some, but we haven't. But it's in the hundreds maybe. Whereas the sales of the paper copy are in the tens of thousands.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I'm so glad that, I mean, it's been a tough time even now, particularly for authors trying to do tours. Everything is going online virtually pretty much with that right now, and new books coming out. So it's been a challenging year. Have you just gone through it? Does it start to feel normal to you now? Where are you with COVID and all of this?
Who knows? Who knows, Kathryn? The last year when the COVID came down, we sold practically nothing. We couldn't even sell on Amazon. Amazon stopped taking what they call non-essential items and for sale. So we even lost, the great sea monster in the sky, so to speak, to mix metaphors. So, and and for a while, the only place I could sell books for about a month or two was in a general store down the road. All of the supply chains, everything went gone. And however, when Amazon came back and when Indigo and when sales did start to rebound, our sales picked up greatly. But there's been some interesting discoveries that I've made about what happened during COVID. In St. John's, there is a Chapters store, and it's one of the most profitable Chapters outlets for Indigo in the country. Wow. And I drive by there, frequently, and of course the parking lot appeared to be empty. But I found out recently that during the second quarter, they had the best second quarter they've ever had during in 2020. Wow. during the shutdown, because people, the drive by and pick up your books actually did work. So there's all kinds of, so it's going to be fascinating to see what comes out of this as companies look to see what happened and how they can restructure their companies, because indigo has been losing money for several years thanks to Amazon, the competition, and they may have accidentally hit upon a partial solution to a vexing problem, which is how to make money, how to compete with Amazon with a bricks and mortar store and all the expenses that go along with that.
Yeah, I think that they're not the only industry that are feeling that pain. It's affected so many retailers, and of course, the new generation coming up. That's how they shop. This affinity to go out into a community and have these relationships in that way. It's just not there, and it may never be there with that generation the way it would be.
May not, but the thing is, if Amazon could make money during the depths of the shutdown last year. Sorry, not Amazon. If Indigo can make money, basically they were forced to change their business practices, the way that they do business.
Yeah.
Once they internalize that, once they figure out how they did that, and how they can replicate it in the future, places like Amazon might have to face competition that they hadn't really considered before. Yeah. And I really hope that happens.
Well, you and me as well, because there's nothing like having bookstores in your midst, and it's just a beautiful. I mean, that was one of my favorite things to do, is to go into a bookstore. It has always been, and I'm sure a lot of people share that. So let's hope that this surprising change, that they do figure it out. I wouldn't be surprised that they will. So what's exciting and new coming up, Gavin? What kind of books are we going to be seeing this year? And recent ones. Share some information with us.
Well, we're going to be getting a mushroom field guide from Sean Dawson. Everybody's been talking about mushrooms. We put out Forager's Dinner last year, the Forager's Dinner by Sean Dawson last year, which is a book about edible plants and how to cook them, with recipes from top chefs in Newfoundland and restaurants. And so he's doing a mushroom field guide. And we're also going to be having a brand new gardening book by Todd Boland, as well as a shrubs and vines book by him as well. He's going to have 2 books this spring. After 1 year off, he's making up for lost time. We're also going to be publishing a book of fiction by Bill Rowe, an author who came to us this year, I guess late last year. And so that's going to be really exciting. And we'll be having a new, we'll be having a biography of Ray Guy. That's going to be coming out as well. I'm really looking forward to that. Ray Guy is one of the greatest Newfoundlanders to have ever lived. And so it's important that we have a biography about this, this icon.
Absolutely.
Newfoundland. So those are some of the books that we're going to be publishing in the near future.
Well, and again, through this, I do hear that, or I do see that strong link to the kind of the traditions. When you think of foraging, I'm sure that was a very common thing years ago. I'm thinking that now. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but our grandparents and so on, they did have to eat more off the land. There weren't the same supplies in grocery stores. And I know with foraging, I guess it's eating less common things. I'm thinking. I'll have to talk to him. Just set me up an interview.
Actually, I think you'd be shocked when you talk to Sean.
Yeah.
If you look at his book, you go, and then go outdoors and check the weeds. I think you'll find that you can eat most of them.
Interesting.
So, get revenge on the weeds.
That's not a bad idea, because I don't like the weeds at all, and I'm always trying to find ways to deal with them in a very, let's say, healthy way, so that I'm not contaminating my environment where I live, or the water and so on. And I actually, what I got was a kind of a blowtorch, and that worked. It used to
a blowtorch.
Yeah,
I That's a unique gardening tool. I must ask Todd Boland about that. He's never
I
he's never
found that
mentioned
online.
a blowtorch before.
Well, it's kind of, I kind of look like I'm a superhero or something. I pull the propane tank, and it's this big thing, and you just go, whew. And it's interesting. But I was trying to find what are ways that I can deal with weeds without using pesticides or things of that nature. What ways can I do it? And I've got a lot of rocks that I like to keep as rocks, and it works. And then I also used dish soap and vinegar, which I had a thing on my back, and I sprayed. So hey, maybe I have a book on how to deal with weeds from a different perspective.
Oh yeah, pests, yes. But yeah, when it comes to using the blowtorch, that's pretty extreme. I gotta say, gotta be said.
It's on the internet. Honestly, I'm not the only one. I was in St. John's for a meeting. I'm sitting there waiting in the car, and I'm watching this guy come along with his landscape vehicle, and he got out and he did it. I was like, what? I got out of my car, went over immediately, and I was like, do you know that I do this? And he said, oh, I didn't know anyone else did this. He said, yes, it's a regular way that we manage weeds. So
well, there you go.
Not
you
just
learn something every day.
You learn something every day. Well, I hope people have learned a lot from our conversation. I certainly have, and I'm so pleased that your company is in our province, and that we're going to have and continue to have the chance to have these wonderful books that represent so much of our heritage. It's just amazing. And I'm going to put up the webpage, which I have it here now, if I can find it. There we go. Just boulderbooks.ca, and you've got the lineup of your books on there and information. And that's probably one of the, can people order directly from your website?
They sure can.
Perfect. All right. Well, we finally got to do this, and I'm going to be after you to send some authors my way. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me.
Well, thank you very much, Kathryn, for the opportunity. Oh, and congratulations on your book, Missy's
Misadventures. Thank you very much.
Good work.
I got to write some more now. And to everyone watching there, don't forget, if you want to catch shows that you may have missed on Kathryn Taylor TV, they'll be there. And I try to add a new show every week. There are so many authors and so many wonderful stories to tell. And I enjoy so much these opportunities to share the stories, as I did today with Gavin Will. So we'll sign off now and thank everyone for viewing, and let us know from where you're watching. And if you like what we're doing, please subscribe, like, and share, and we'll keep bringing you great stories about stories. Bye now.